The 1970s.
Well, Clinton was Secretary
of
State.
When are you talking about
2011.
when the CIA were out of control?
Overthrowing Libya in 2011.
The CIA did not overthrow Libya. The people of Libya rose up as part of the Arab Spring, and then they fought against Muammar Gaddafi.
Well, I mean, first of all, Muammar Gaddafi, who was overthrown by a combination of U.S. air power, CIA and special operations support on the ground in Libya, certainly giving targeting information to what were called rebel groups. Gaddafi himself was a dictator, no question about that. But that's not really what's at issue here. I mean, what's at issue is the United States in the business of regime change? And Barack Obama campaigned on this idea that he was not going to be involved with overthrowing governments around the world. And I don't see any way that you can argue something other than that was regime change. I don't believe that Muammar Gaddafi would have been brought down, at least at that point in time, by anything even vaguely resembling anyone's definition of a popular revolt or a popular uprising. And it was only with U.S. air power and CIA presence, certainly in the form of providing intel, but probably also in smaller cells of special operations and CIA people on the ground, that he was overthrown. What's kind of interesting is that, as we see Syria continuing to just burn, and we were told that there was a debate about whether or not the U.S. should get involved with Syria, and of course the British Parliament voted down authorization for David Cameron to militarily intervene in Syria. The U.S. has been intervening from the beginning. In fact, you could say that the U.S. was intervening on the side of the Assad government during the Bush administration when they were shipping prisoners to Syria to be tortured and interrogated under the Bush rendition program. And then now you have a situation where the United States is almost 3 years into a covert presence on the ground, supporting so-called rebel factions, some of which are probably have more in common with the ideology of Osama bin Laden or Ayman al-Zawahiri than they do with the average American. And I think that the CIA and the U.S. military, they've been on the ground in some form or another, quietly in small footprints, basically from the beginning. And one thing that the United States has really done in the past, let's say 6-8 years, is cultivate Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and Turkey as essentially kind of proxy forces that can do the official business of war making or war profiteering, so that the U.S. role is somewhat shielded or masked. And that happened in a number of countries where during the so-called Arab Spring, where Qatar or Turkey or the UAE was sort of responsible for implementing the U.S. agenda. Right now in Saudi Arabia, right now in Yemen, Saudi Arabia is just destroying one of the oldest civilizations in the world. And Saudi's doing it with U.S. intelligence and munitions and support. So, to bring us full circle, Libya was absolutely regime change. It was regime change that at that time was made possible by U.S. air power and other activities of the CIA and the U.S. military. Would Gaddafi eventually have been overthrown in a popular uprising? Perhaps. I don't know. Would he have been overthrown without the United States at that point? And by the way, murdered and sodomized and all of these things, captured on video. I don't know. Maybe he would have eventually been killed. Maybe he would have eventually been overthrown, but not at that moment in time, and not without the United States engaged in. So, Obama and Hillary Clinton definitely have fiercely embraced the politics of regime change.
Well, what do you think about the United States overthrowing Libya?
The United States did not overthrow Libya.